I got a call from her OB, congratulating me on a pregnancy I knew nothing about. Let that sink in for a second. Imagine your phone buzzing in the middle of a regular Tuesday afternoon, the same as 1,000 other Tuesdays, and you answer expecting a telemarketer or a colleague, and instead you hear a cheerful voice you don't recognize saying, "Congratulations, Dad, just wanted to confirm your next appointment and let you know everything looks healthy." For a solid 3 seconds I thought it was some kind of prank call, a wrong number, maybe. But then the nurse who introduced herself as part of Dr. Larkin's office used my full name, my full legal name, and she said her name, my girlfriend's name. She said it so casually as if it was obvious, as if I was supposed to know. "We just wanted to check if you'll be attending the next ultrasound with her name." I swear my entire body went cold. I couldn't even form words. My mind was trying to sprint in 10 different directions. Pregnancy, ultrasound, appointment. What the hell was she talking about? My girlfriend hadn't said a word, not a hint, not a slip. And this woman was speaking to me like I'd been in the loop all along. I mumbled something like, could you repeat that?" The nurse chuckled gently, the way medical staff do when they assume you're just overwhelmed with joy. She said, "It's perfectly normal to feel emotional, but we'll need you to confirm if you're attending." I didn't deny. I just said I'll get back to you and hung up. And then I sat there in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white, staring at nothing, trying to process the fact that the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, was apparently pregnant, and not only had she not told me, but she'd already been to the doctor, already scheduled ultrasounds, already had an entire part of her life I wasn't invited into. I wish I could tell you I handled it calmly, that I took a deep breath, planned a rational conversation, and waited until the right moment. But the truth, I drove straight to her place, stormed up the stairs, and let myself in with the spare key she'd given me months ago. She was in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of water. She looked up, startled, and smiled. "Hey babe, you okay?" I must have looked insane, sweating, shaking, eyes wide. I slammed the door behind me. "Why did I just get a call from your doctor, congratulating me on a pregnancy?" Her face changed instantly. The blood drained from her cheeks, her lips parted, and the glass in her hand trembled. She set it down slowly, like she was stalling, buying herself seconds to think. "Who called you?" she whispered. "Don't play dumb." I snapped. "Your OB's office. They called. They said you were pregnant. They congratulated me. They asked if I'd be at the next ultrasound. What the hell is going on?" Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. She stared at me, eyes darting, jaw clenched. And then she said the one thing I wasn't prepared for. "It's not your." Just like that. 3 words that detonated my entire life. I stumbled back a step, like I'd been punched. "What do you mean it's not mine? You're pregnant, and it's not mine. Then why the hell is your doctor calling me?" She buried her face in her hands. I didn't update the information. You were still listed as my emergency contact. They just assumed. I could barely breathe. "You let me live with you, love you, plan a future with you, and you're carrying someone else's child. And I find out because your doctor's office thinks I'm the father." Her tears started then. Real, hot tears that streaked her face. "I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want you to find out like this." I laughed bitterly, choking on it. "Like this? How else was I supposed to find out? When the kid was born? When you posted a picture online?" She sobbed harder, whispering apologies, reaching for me, but I stepped back. I couldn't touch her, couldn't even look at her without seeing every moment of the last year, shattered in an instant. The hours that followed blurred together. We argued. We cried. She confessed. She'd been seeing someone else, a co-worker, on and off. It wasn't serious, she claimed, until suddenly it was. Until suddenly she was pregnant. She insisted she'd broken it off with him, that she hadn't meant for any of this to happen. She said she still loved me, that she wanted me to stay. Stay? In what world could I stay? In what universe does a man stay when the woman he loves is carrying another man's child? But here's where it gets complicated. Because love isn't logic. Love isn't math. As much as I wanted to scream, to walk out, to never look back, my heart was still chained to her, and some twisted, broken part of me still wanted to protect her, even as she destroyed me. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on her couch while she cried herself to sleep in the bedroom. My mind ran in circles. Who was he? Did he know? Was he in the picture? Or was I supposed to be the replacement father while she erased him from the story? By morning, I knew one thing. I couldn't just leave it at her word. I needed answers. Proof. The truth she'd been too cowardly to give me until her doctor accidentally exposed it. And so began the ugliest chapter of my life. I started digging. Quietly. Carefully. I checked her phone when she showered. I found his name, Ryan, buried in her messages, threads half deleted, but not clean enough to hide everything. I found photos of them together, smiles too wide, touches too intimate. I even found a message from him. Are we telling him, or are we pretending it's his? That was when my vision went black with rage, because it wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a conspiracy. They were trying to decide if they'd let me believe I was the father, if they'd let me raise another man's child. That was the day I stopped being passive. That was the day I decided if they wanted to play games with my life, I'd flip the board. I didn't confront her again. Not right away. I pretended to be calm, even forgiving. I told her we could talk it through, that maybe there was a way forward. She clung to that hope, desperate, relieved, and while she clung, I planned. Because if she wanted to keep me in the story, I was going to rewrite the ending. I didn't tell her what I knew. That was the first rule I set for myself. She thought she had the upper hand, that I was in the dark, and only reacting to the scraps she threw me. Let her believe that. Let her get comfortable. Let her think I was broken, pliable, still in love enough to forgive anything. Because people who think they're winning get sloppy. I watched her carefully after that. Every word, every glance at her phone, every trip out of the house. She spun this story of a woman trying to heal, trying to figure things out. She said she was glad I stayed. She clung to me like a life raft, maybe hoping I'd save her from the mess she'd created. And the more she leaned on me, the more I quietly tightened the noose of truth around her. The first crack came from him. Ryan, the man whose name I'd seen in those half-deleted texts. He didn't know I had her phone. He didn't know I'd read his words, or seen the photo of them kissing in a bar I'd taken her to a dozen times. And one night, when she fell asleep with her phone on the nightstand, a message popped up. Is he buying it? I took a screenshot before she stirred. I stared at those words until my eyes burned. Buying it. That's what I was to them. A gullible customer in the store of their lies. I wanted to go to his apartment that night and pound on the door until my fists bled. I wanted to drag him out into the street and demand answers. But instead I did something quieter. I sent him a message from her phone while she slept. He's suspicious. I think he's piecing things together. His reply was instant. Then we need to tell him before it blows up, or are we sticking with the plan? The plan. That phrase made me sick. I took another screenshot, then deleted the thread so she'd never know I'd seen it. I lay there in the dark, her steady breathing beside me, my heart racing like a trapped animal. There was a plan. They had talked about letting me raise his child, about cutting me out when it suited them, about using me until I wasn't useful anymore. That was the moment I stopped feeling hurt. Hurt had burned itself out. What was left was cold, focused, surgical. If they wanted a plan, I'd make one too. The first step was information. I needed to know what he knew. Did he want to be in the picture, or was he happy to let me be the cover story? I started watching his patterns. He worked at a marketing firm downtown, and it wasn't hard to figure out his routine. Gym in the morning, work until 6, drinks after. Thursday evenings, he played in a rec soccer league. I showed up one night, sitting in the bleachers, a hood pulled low, and there he was, smiling, carefree, shouting to his teammates. The man who thought he could steal my life and make me the punchline. I didn't confront him then, not yet. I waited until the following week, when I knew he'd be alone leaving practice. I followed him into the parking lot, my steps echoing on the pavement. He turned, startled when I called his name. Ryan. He froze. His eyes darted, calculating whether to deny or play dumb. I saved him the trouble. You know who I am, and I know who you are. His shoulders tightened. Look, man. Don't call me man. My voice was low, steady. You're the father, aren't you? He didn't answer. That was all the answer I needed. You knew she was with me. You knew, and you still. My hands curled into fists. But I didn't swing. I leaned in close instead. And now you're plotting to let me raise your kid while you stand in the shadows? That's the plan. His eyes widened. He stammered. She told me, you wanted kids. She said maybe you'd. I laughed bitterly. She lied to you too. Imagine that. He swallowed hard, the bravado slipping. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. No, I said. But it did, and now you're going to deal with the fallout. I walked away before he could respond, my heart pounding, adrenaline surging. I didn't need his excuse, I just needed him rattled. Back home, she sensed something had shifted. She asked me what was wrong. I kissed her forehead, told her I was just tired, let her think I was softening, accepting. Meanwhile, I was collecting the last piece of evidence I needed. And then came the doctor's appointment, the one the nurse had called me about weeks earlier. She hadn't mentioned it since, maybe assuming I'd forgotten. But I hadn't. That morning I told her I had a work meeting, and left early. Instead I went straight to Dr. Larkin's office. I walked up to the desk and said my name. The receptionist smiled, checked the schedule and said, "Oh yes, you're listed as the father." I stood there, staring at the words on her screen. Listed as the father. My stomach twisted. It was official. On paper, I wasn't just her boyfriend. I was the father of a child that wasn't mine. I leaned in and said quietly, "Could you print that for me? For my records." She hesitated, then shrugged, hitting a few keys. Seconds later, I had it. Proof. Tangible, undeniable proof that she'd put me in a role I never agreed to. That night, I waited until she was home, curled up on the couch, scrolling her phone. I sat across from her and laid the paper on the table. She looked at it, then at me, her face draining of color. "What is this?" she whispered. "You tell me," I said. Her lips trembled. I didn't mean what? Didn't mean to lie. Didn't mean to let your doctor list me as the father. Didn't mean to build a plan with him to trick me into raising his child." She shook her head violently, tears spilling. "It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that." My voice was calm, steady, deadly. "And the worst part, you didn't even give me the choice. You stole that from me. You decided who I'd be without ever asking if I wanted it." She broke down then, sobbing, pleading, swearing she still loved me. That she'd made mistakes, that she was scared. But I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I just stood and said, "You wanted me to be the father in your fantasy, but I'm not. And I never will be." I walked out. In the weeks that followed, she tried everything. Calls, texts, letters. She begged me to come back. Said she couldn't do it without me. Said he wasn't stepping up, but I ignored it all. Because the truth was, I'd already stepped out of the story she wrote for me. And here's the thing about betrayal. It's not just the act that breaks you. It's the arrogance. The belief that they can script your role without your consent. That they can hand you a baby and a lie and expect you to smile and play along. She thought I'd be her safety net, her stand-in, her father figure for a child I didn't create. But in the end, all she did was remind me of the one power she couldn't take from me. The power to walk away. And I did, with my dignity intact, my future unwritten, and my heart hardened by a truth I'll never forget.